Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, this is Jake Biggie Mills, the voice of the FFL, and I'm very happy to announce that the FFL is returning for a 2022 season. Yes, this is our third season of FFL football, and I'm very excited to announce that we are back and we have a schedule made, and we have 6 teams this year, 2 coming back from last season, 4 new teams, and 1 that's been in the league since its inaugural season. That's only 1 team. Yes, that's crazy to think about, isn't it? There's only 1 team still remaining from the original 4 from the 2020 season. So we're going to go into detail with these teams. I'm going to be talking about them, showing you the logo. Now, I have the schedule posted on the community page and the Twitter and Instagram, both linked on the channel here. I have the schedule posted. I have all the logos. You can see all that. But I made this video to go into some more detail and talk about some things and talk about the teams and show all that good stuff. So, without further ado, let's get started. All right, so our first team, we're going to go with the new 4. Our first team we're going to talk about here is the Annihilators. So, the Annihilators are owned by Brahim Patterson. He's bounced around the league a little bit. He played with the Thunderbirds, the Ice Climbers. He's been around. And as you probably saw, the Thunderbirds did fold my team, unfortunately. So, some of my old players are playing for this team as well. Braden Struck, Jack Long, Kevin Lockett, they're going to be playing for the Annihilators now. All right, so our next team here is Goon Squad. So this team is owned by Darius Lee. He bounced around the league a little bit, and he has his own team. This team is a lot of new faces, guys we've never seen before, so we don't really know what to expect, but we're hoping for some good things. All right, now, this one has to be probably the most interesting team, and I'll tell you why after I show you. This is sadefc. Yes, sadefc. Sounds like a soccer team, but it's American football. So the team is owned by Sade Kubros. You can probably already tell by the name, sadefc. And also by the name, you can tell he's a huge soccer fan or football fan. He does not know much about American football. There's a lot of new faces on this team, and that's why I think they're going to be the most interesting. Because the rules of Sade doesn't really know American football that well. We're going to show him, obviously, and he's going to learn. But this team's going to be very interesting, I must say. This is going to be an interesting team to watch. Hopefully they can do some good. All right, now I wanted to save the big one for last because this has a huge meaning behind it now with the way the people on the team. So our last newcomer for this season is the Royals. So the Royals are owned by former Desperado player Connor Mulhern. And if you remember from last season, the Desperados won the Tomato Bowl. And one of their top receivers was Ben Frederick. He's now on the Royals. So basically, the Royals are some of the Desperados. They split up. A lot of the guys did stay on the Desperados, but a good chunk of them went over to the Royals. And when I say good chunk, there's not that many because rosters are 10 people and there's only 5 on the field. So some rosters are only 7 people. So it's not like there's 100 people, but I'd say if in the terms of roster limits, it's a good chunk. So yeah. The Desperados and Royals. Those games are going to be good. Big rivalry. We'll see who the better half is, and we'll see if the Desperados were carried by Ben Frederick or were they just that good. We're going to find out. Ben Frederick was obviously one of the best receivers, and he's on the Royals now. So is Connor Mulhern. Pretty sure Connor O'Boyle's on that team as well. Aiden Jenkins, former Desperado players from the championship team. And Jake Jones, a former Thunderbird and Knight. 2 teams that folded, so he is joining the Royals. So yeah, Desperados, Royals, going to be the biggest rivalry of the year. We'll see who the better half is. All right, now that's our new 4. Now we're going to look at a team that is newly named. A new name, new logo, new colors, just a whole rebrand. We have, formerly known as the Ice Climbers, the Vipers. So this is a whole new rebrand. They were known as the Ice Climbers last year. They made the Tomato Bowl last year. But lost to the Desperados, who were very good last year, like I've been saying. This team is still owned by Jacob Hull, but with the Knights folding, some Knights players are playing for this team. Brett Reap, Alex Preet, and Adam Lazar. So this team should be good again, and the new additions of those guys, they should be a good team. We should see some good things out of the Vipers. All right, and now lastly, the one remaining team from the original 4 from the inaugural season, the team that stuck through it all, didn't fold, no leaving or anything. the Desperados, the reigning Tomato Bowl champions. This team is obviously owned by the one and only Caleb Scully Welliver. They were very good last year. This team should be very good again. Like I said, though, they split up. Some players went to the Royals. That's why it's going to be a ginormous, huge rivalry. And definitely the 2 times they play each other, it's going to be big. It's going to be very big. Yeah, this team's getting Caleb Welliver back, John Barchi Critch, Ryan Hinsey, Steve Beloga. They're going to be good again. I think they're going to be very good, and they can make another run to the Tomato Bowl maybe. So yeah, those are our 6 teams for this year. And now that I went through the teams, let's talk about some changes this year. So normally we would play 6 weeks. We expanded it to 10. Yes, we are playing 10 weeks of FFL football. 10. 3 games a day with the addition of the more teams, so more games. And we're doing 10 weeks. So, yeah, this season's going to run a little longer than the usual. But that's more content. That's more highlights, more fun, more football. There's not much you can ask for there. So, week 1 is on April 2nd. That's a Saturday. They're on Saturdays. The tentative end time, I'm sorry, I'll get to that in a minute. The start time for the games, they kick off at 11 a.m. Our site currently is Albert West Park in Pittston, Pennsylvania. But our alternate site is the Duryea Wildcats Field in Duryea, Pennsylvania. We had to play there a couple times last year. It could happen again. There will be posts about it if it does change. But our main site is Albert West Park in Pittston, Pennsylvania, which is where the FFL started and most of the games have been played in the past. We kick off on April 2nd. And the tentative end time, like I mentioned before, but I wanted to get to it all first. The tentative end time is 3 o'clock p.m. Eastern time. Now, we know that's kind of late from an 11 a.m. start for 3 games, but we think it's going to be earlier. We think that it's not going to be 3 o'clock p.m. It could be a lot earlier, but that's the tentative end time. We have to take in consideration timeouts, halftime, time in between each game, and penalties. We got to take all that in consideration, but even with all that considered, I think it'll be over by 3 p.m., and obviously, as you know, highlights will be uploaded to the channel, edited, made, and voiceovered by me either the day of. But when we have multiple games, it's going to be hard to get all 3 out on the same day, especially if I'm doing stuff. So they might be the Sunday after or maybe the Monday after. Who knows? But they will be out. I will have highlights for you guys every single week, all 3 games if they happen. Obviously, we could have forfeits if guys have if teams have an insufficient amount of players. There could be forfeits. There can only be 2 games, 1 game. You never know. But there will be highlights for all of them for what happens. And for the playoffs, so this goes from April 2nd to June 4th. Now that we have 6 teams and to kind of amp the competitive nature of the league, we made the playoffs top 4 only. So the playoffs would usually go by the final rankings for seeding. Everybody would make it. But this year, only the top 4 are making it. So the 5th and 6th ranked teams will not make the playoffs at the conclusion of the regular season. So how the playoffs are going to work is 1st seed versus 4th seed, 2nd seed versus 3rd seed. Winners of those go to the Tomato Bowl. And the rankings and the seedings go by your record. And if you have a tie for a record, it's head to head. And we just keep breaking it down by criteria until we can, get final rankings out. But most of it will be win-loss record. That's going to be most of the time. If we really have to get it down to a case where we look at head-to-head and we look at points allowed or points scored, we will get to it and we will find where the team belongs. But that usually never happens. We usually have most teams don't have the same records. It could happen, but you never know. It could happen, but it's more than likely it won't. So yeah, top 4 make the playoffs, and the seeding goes by the rankings, and the 5th and 6th ranked teams don't make it. So that's it for our video here, guys. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you guys on April 2nd for the FFL season, and see some more highlights from me.